I'm not looking for that beautiful grandma circle that's perfect, crimped edges. It looks like it belongs on the front of Good Housekeeping or something. Today is all about my very favorite dessert. It is a French Apple Galette. There's a lot of things that make French Apple Galettes different from any other galette, and I like it because it's rustic, it's very, very thin. You could probably eat 2 to 3 slices without any guilt. So let's get going on the first part, and I want you to be able to feel comfortable making this pastry. Pastry seems to always scare people. It's just like, but if you follow these basic techniques that I'm going to give you, you too will be able to come out with a perfect pâte brisée. What we're going to start with is 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, and we're going to sift it, and that just gets rid of any lumps the flour may have. We have 7 1/2 tablespoons of very cold unsalted butter. So I've got my butter right here, and we're gonna just cut it about the size of walnuts. And the butter is really important to be cold. If you put the butter in warm, you have a hard time getting a flaky pastry. And then a good sharp pastry blender, and we are going to cut the butter into the flour just like this until it's about the size of really large peas. And then I have ice water, not just regular water, but really cold water. Pour that in, 1, 2, 3. I've got a large pastry fork, and I'm just gonna very carefully bring that together. Now, here's where you do not wanna overwork. I'm carefully just bringing this pastry together and not pushing. Can you see how careful I'm being? I want those big chunks of butter to remain chunks of butter. I do not want them to be pushed in to dissipate into the dough, because then we have a short crust dough, and that's a whole different program. I've got a tiny little bit of flour still there, so I'm just gonna take like a 1/2 tablespoon just so I can get that worked in. There we have the perfect ball of pâte brisée. It all has come together, and I have a piece of plastic wrap right beside me. I'm gonna kind of flatten it into a disc so that when I go to roll it out, it's already sort of semi-flattened. And I'm going to chill this for about 15 minutes. One of the best apples I like to use are Granny Smith, the big green ones. Peeled, cut in half, and I just use a melon baller to just get that core out. And we're gonna cut the ends off, and then very carefully slice the apple all the way down. And I'm keeping it in the same order, and there's a reason for that, okay? And they're stacked up just like that. So the other thing we need is sugar. Now, I know North America, apples equal cinnamon. In France, no apples, no cinnamon. It's just sugar. The one secret that I've developed when I do pastry are using these little almond amaretti cookies. You can use soda biscuits, you can use any cracker that you have in your house. And what that does, we're gonna roll out our pastry, we're gonna put that down on the bottom. So when the apples start to cook down and release their juice, or the cracker absorbs that moisture, and your pastry is perfectly crisp on the bottom. That's the secret. Okay, we're gonna get our pastry out of the fridge, and our oven is at 400 degrees, preheated 400. I am rolling this directly on the flat cookie sheet so that I don't have any problems to transfer it. And then just roll. You can see here all the pieces of butter, and that's the portion that's gonna make this pastry super flaky and amazing. And we're gonna roll it almost to the very edge. A little bit more flour. Just keep going, and don't over flour. Just when you feel it's just sticking a bit, add a bit more. You want the rustic look. I'm not looking for that beautiful grandma circle that's perfect, crimped edges. It looks like it belongs on the front of Good Housekeeping or something. This is rustic. Now, we're gonna take our amaretti cookies or crackers, whatever you have, and give it a good bash. And then spread those out. And then take our beautiful apples in both hands, fan them out as big as you can, and lay them down and keep fanning. And in rows, try to make it as pretty and even as you can. And then another row. Just about 1/3 of a cup of sugar. Just sprinkle it lightly like this. Then I'm going to carefully bring this up over the edge like so. Radically rustic. See that? Over the edge, up and over. Just a few more biscuits in here. This is going to go straight into the freezer like this for about 15 minutes. What that does is it sets the butter. The butter then is absolutely frozen. When it goes into the hot oven, it starts to flake and the butter won't melt, and that's the secret. So this is going into the freezer. Tart frozen in the oven, baking. It's a long bake and it's 400. And you're thinking, 400 pastry? Are you kidding me? But if you don't do it at 400, it won't tighten up the butter. The butter will then slowly ooze. So 400 makes this tart perfect, and we'll see how perfect it is. Now, if it wasn't really set, it should just wiggle right off like that. Done. That is absolutely the perfect French apple tart. So the secret to glazing and making the pastry shine is not by washing it with an egg. This is a red currant jelly, seedless, and I've just put a little bit in the pot so that we can brush it very lightly onto the pastry that's showing, so that it has this beautiful shine. So you can see that it's all melted, and I'm just going to carefully brush that all over the crust. But you can see how the pastry is now kind of glowing with this jelly. And there, I would say, you have the very perfect French apple tart. I love it. I hope you love it. The pastry tricks I gave you should send you into baking heaven with perfection every time. Give it a go. You'll love it.